You keep wondering who's going to do the most to destroy Islam.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. Now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense. Not in total, but guess what?
You just said absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense, but not in total. Realizing the backlash he's going to get for saying absolute nonsense, and then so he tries to qualify it.
Ali Dawah just said that the scientific miracles in the Quran narrative is nonsense.
Guess what? Did I leave Islam when this whole scientific miracle thing got debunked? No, I stayed because I grew in faith.
Because I'm stupid. We said the same thing. We say the same thing nowadays. We have said it quite a bit. And when we say it, Muslims come out and they're like, liar, liar. What about this miracle? What about that miracle? And here's Ali Dawah, the guy who does the dawah. He comes out saying scientific miracles, that's nonsense.
All of the arguments that were spread by their da'is in the 90s and early 2000s. So all the arguments of Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik and all these guys. I mean, what are the arguments of dawah in the 1990s and the 2000s? It's perfect, miraculous preservation of the only Quran, only one Quran, no variants anywhere. It's a miracle. Mathematical marvels in the Quran, especially the number 19. You've got the scientific miracles, and you've got Muslims now admitting that all of these were completely bogus. People were converting to Islam based on the claim that they have all these arguments, and now they're admitting that all of these arguments were completely bogus. What are they still using?
There's a book by Zakir Naik, which is focused on scientific miracles.
By the way, that was the first argument that I was ever given for Islam. This was in prison, and the Imam of the Muslim community said, I can show you some stuff. And he showed me a video that went through these scientific miracles. And all I kept doing over and over and over again with every single example, he was telling me, he said, when the first time I saw this, it blew my mind. He was a convert. Saying the first time I saw this, it blew my mind, and it'll blow yours. And so we just sit there watching it. And every single example it was, they would quote a Quran verse, and then they would speak for 10 minutes about science and stuff like that. And then they would say, and how could Muhammad have known this? And I would just be sitting there thinking, he didn't say any of that. He didn't say any of that in that verse. There's nothing that you're saying about science that is actually in the verse. There were two possibilities. We talked about this recently. Because Ali Dawah's followers complained. All of this dawah from Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik seemed like their biggest main argument was scientific miracles. Now, Muslim da'is themselves are acknowledging that it's been completely debunked. And so this is going to raise the objection. Wait a minute, I converted because of that. I converted because of those reasons. And now you're saying it was all nonsense? Absolute nonsense, Ali Dawah? And so the question is, once he gets the blowback from his fans, what is he going to do? Is he going to backtrack and say, oh, what I really meant is that this particular version of the argument was refuted, but not the whole argument, right? Or is he going to stand his ground like a man? Well, happy to say Ali Dawah stood his ground like a man. He didn't give in to the peer pressure. He didn't back down from the constant complaints of all the Muslims whose faith in Islam was being completely destroyed by his dawah. He stood his ground. He doubled down. He affirmed, yes, it has been debunked.
I'll quickly touch up on this because it's not really that important.
It's not that important. This is like global dawah changing stuff here.
There are lots of Muslims in the comment section of that video who are shocked and surprised, and they're like, "Brother Ali, what does this mean? What are you talking about? Why are you saying this has been debunked and it's nonsense? Can you please clarify?" He's attacking the narrative of so many Muslims who come to me and to you and propose that as an argument for Islam, and now he acts like this is no big deal.
It seems that a popular Muslim scholar or da'i admitting something is roughly equivalent of 10 years of us making the exact same point. In other words, Muslims said perfect preservation right down to the letter year after year after year. We showed them that the Quran has not been preserved that way according to their own sources, according to the manuscript tradition, according to Qurans around the world. Even when Hatun is going and putting the Quran in their faces, they're still, different versions of the Quran in their faces, they're still clinging to it. They're still thinking that their scholars have some explanation for how this is all just one Quran. They think that, they assume it. They assume we're liars and their scholars are telling the truth. And it's not until like Sheikh Yasser Qadhi will come along and say, okay, the standard narrative has holes in it. We've got some problems, but we cannot, under any circumstances, discuss this in front of Muslims because we will destroy their faith. So he doesn't want to give an explanation, but him acknowledging that, suddenly they all catch on. They flip out at first, but then they all catch on. It's actually It's much rarer to see the argument from perfect preservation now. You'll occasionally see it from a Muslim, not anywhere near what it was just 5 years ago before the holes in the narrative interviews. Somehow, their guys admitting something like seals the deal for Muslims and makes them take it seriously when before that they're telling us we're liars. So if Zakir Naik says, look at this miracle in the Quran. How could Muhammad know this, right? When he says something like that and we say, that's a lie, read the passage. That does not line up with embryology. That does not line up with cosmology. None of this lines up. So, now, you're liars, you're jealous because of the powerful miracles, right? And they'll say that for years. And then Ali Dawah will just come out, yeah, they're right. It's all been debunked. And suddenly, okay, it's been debunked. Let's go to our new argument. Interesting stuff.
I mentioned that the scientific miracles in the Quran got debunked. And for some odd reason, funnily enough, like as if they thought that it was a slip of the tongue. I'll repeat it again, very carefully. The scientific miracles argument in the Quran got debunked. Yeah, the tajweed was on point. So,
so he's clarifying. Isn't that funny? Because a lot of the people in the comments were saying, Ali, could you clarify what you're saying? Could you clarify? It's the same stupid thing they did with Sheikh Yasser Qadi when they're leaking his messages, and he's really sounding like he doesn't think the standard explanations for Quran variants do a good job. And could you clarify that for us? That's what Muhammad Hijab was doing. Just come on here and you'll clarify it, and then everyone will see you're not denying the perfect preservation of the Quran. Because if you ask for clarification, be careful what you wish for.
When I said this, a lot of Islamophobes were celebrating as if I was like,
I wonder who he's talking about here. Let me back up. By the way, isn't this hilarious? It's like, I don't even know why these Islamophobes want to mention this just because we've been lying for decades about what's in the Quran, and I finally admit that this be a lie. Yeah. Why does they care? Why do we care that you finally admitted that something you've been saying for years is a lie? Because we've been trying to get people to understand that they're dealing with liars who will make things up to defend their religion, and you proved our point perfectly. Yeah. Please, Ali, please continue what you're doing.
And you know why many people in the Duat, YouTubers, my colleagues, like brothers that I work with, didn't do a video? Why did you say that? Because they know it as well. In what?
Did you catch that? Did you catch what he just said? He said, why didn't other people make a video on this? They know it's true too.
Yeah, they agree with me.
They agree. So what's he saying? He's saying the Dawah guys know that this argument has been debunked, that it is absolute nonsense, that it's garbage. And yet, guess what? Same guys, they know that the Quran hasn't been perfectly preserved. They know that there are different Qurans in different parts of the world. They know about all the passages in the Quran that came up missing, were lost because the only people who had them memorized died in battle, that were eaten by a sheep. They know about this. Why do they keep telling people things that are false? Just what you do in Dawah, ladies and gentlemen.
Dawah.
Hamza Tzortzis was the one who gave the marching orders saying, hey, guys, we need to stop using this argument. And that's Hijab is one of his right-hand men, and Ali Dawah was Hijab's right-hand man. So these guys all knew it, and yet they would still not hesitate. And here's the thing. I guarantee that if even Ali Dawah was not on camera, but he's talking to some non-Muslim on a train somewhere, and that person says, I don't really believe in Islam because I only believe in science. I guarantee you he's going to, the Quran has got scientific miracles in it, yeah? And would not care.